This disaster movie roars to life.
Whoa! This was like an 80-mile-an-hour blowtorch.
I came out and they saw a fireball.
Do you know what you're gonna do now?
How do I get to my house?
We're gonna...
Tonight, homes in ashes.
Oh, God, it's gone.
I hadn't cried until I got here.
Lives in chaos.
My parents tried to get me out of here, but I couldn't leave.
I can't go, bro. 51 years that I've been in this house.
Heroes in action.
You haven't slept.
Not really. You got control of one, and the wind's picked up.
The flames are still burning, and questions are burning too.
How is there no water in the hydrants, Governor? Is it gonna be different next time?
It has to be.
What lies ahead?
How do you come back from something like this?
They come back one day at a time.
LA's landscape changed forever. Its strength still stands.
We are resilient. We'll find a way.
We will rebuild, and we will rebuild together.
Now, the very latest from the front lines. Fire and ash. Devastation in LA. Good evening, I'm Lester Holt. Everywhere you look in fire-ravaged LA, scenes of apocalyptic destruction, as 6 different wildfires turn some of the most iconic neighborhoods in the world into moonscapes. Here's where things stand this evening. At least 11 people are dead. More than 150,000 are under evacuation orders. And some 10,000 buildings and structures have been burned to the ground. Tonight, stories of heartbreak, heroism, and also hope. But first, we take you moment by moment through the last 4 days, from the first sparks to the mammoth blazes now unleashing their full fury across a great American city. It all began 4 days ago, when Los Angeles residents might have expected a typically beautiful Tuesday in their city. But that morning was different. Dry winds were blowing harder than almost anyone could remember. So around 10:30 a.m., when a small fire broke out along a bushy hillside near a state park, those winds quickly fanned the flames. LA firefighters got word on their internal radio channel.
This has the potential for 200 plus acres in the next 20 minutes. We have a potential for structures being threatened in the next 20 minutes.
The fire started to burn through one of the wealthiest and most beautiful neighborhoods in the country, the Pacific Palisades.
I saw when the fire first started, so I rushed over here to pack my belongings, and I got the evacuation orders.
Barely 2 hours after the fire broke out, residents began fleeing by car, but some got stuck in their tracks.
The homeowners are saying they're unable to access any exit routes. There's fire on both sides of the roads.
Amid the growing chaos, many abandoned their cars in the gridlocked traffic. Responding fire crews used a bulldozer to clear a path. Crucial minutes ticked by. By 4 p.m., the monstrous fire had gathered even more strength, devouring homes.
Over behind us on Enchanted Way, there's probably 4 homes that were lost. I could see from the roof, I could see a structure on fire, so...
Firefighters tried to attack the flames with airdrops by helicopter as the winds kept driving the fire forward, toppling trees and severing power lines.
The only thing I heard above that wind was the power lines popping.
By 6:30 p.m. on Tuesday, the Palisades fire had already burned more than 1,200 acres and forced the evacuation of thousands.
We were here not too long ago.
California Governor Gavin Newsom declared a state of emergency.
It's incredibly important that we heed the warnings, the calls, that we're not out of the woods by any stretch of the imagination.
The governor was right. Just as he and his team were speaking, another fire had broken out in Altadena, a small foothill community to the east of the Palisades. Officials would name it the Eaton Fire, after a canyon near its origin.
Which is your house?
Yeah, this is our house. Backyard's on fire. I'm out of here.
That new fire blew up rapidly in the darkness, expanding its scale, forcing the evacuation of this assisted living facility.
You'll see the people on stretchers and just the effort, the very rapid effort to try to get these people out of harm's way.
As the night wore on, the hurricane-force winds reached upwards of 75, even 100 miles per hour, making it unsafe for those helicopters to fly.
We're trying to surround the fire, break it up into different divisions so geographically we can orchestrate an effective attack on it.
On Wednesday morning, plumes of smoke rose out of the canyons and blotted out the sun. The Palisades fire had continued its march west, scorching 5,000 acres in its path.
You can see these coastal beachfront homes just erupting in flames.
An estimated 1,000 structures had been razed by the fire. Cars, schools, churches, communities gone.
It's devastating. It is apocalyptic. This does not feel real.
Good morning. Thank you.
At a morning press conference, the Los Angeles County Fire Chief Anthony Marrone didn't mince his words.
The fire is growing. We have no percentage of containment.
And 40 miles away, there were the first reports of deaths from that Eaton fire.
Unfortunately, we have 2 reported fatalities.
Tens of thousands of people remained under mandatory evacuation orders. And yet we found people returning to see what the fire had spared and what it had not.
Is this your home? I'm so sorry.
How long were you here?
My entire life. Yeah, I'm kind of in shock right now. Just watching this house burn down here, too.
Armed with garden hoses and buckets, people whose homes were miraculously untouched threw water onto smoldering roofs and yards. In Altadena, KNBC reporter Michelle Vallis watched the neighbors rush to help a man hold back the flames, the monster winds fueling a sudden roll of fire.
These neighbors desperately try to keep their home from catching fire.
And then rescue came.
Here they come! We're gonna help you!
More than 7,000 firefighters and emergency personnel had been deployed across the region since the fires began, saving who and what they could. Fighting walls of fire, often on foot, and sometimes running low on water.
Out of every fire hydrant you've seen, what have you found? Right now, we're finding most of them are down or low pressure.
Help was on the way. Fire trucks hit the road from neighboring states. But the fires didn't wait.
Oh my God. Runyon Canyon is on fire.
A new fire took hold in the Hollywood Hills. Officials dubbed it the Sunset Fire and ordered people to evacuate. There was panic and gridlock on Sunset Boulevard as the fire pressed close to the Hollywood Bowl. And then a sound of hope people didn't know they'd been waiting for. Choppers in the air. Here, at least the winds had died down, giving firefighters a fighting chance. In fact, as the sun rose Thursday over Los Angeles, the winds remained calmer. CAL FIRE's Chief Brent Pasqua.
So this morning is a night and day difference from the last 2 days. I believe if it stays like this, we can actually turn a corner on these fires.
Firefighters were making significant headway on the Sunset Fire in the Hollywood Hills, and officials lifted evacuation orders there. As they gathered with reporters, they revealed how much had been lost so far in places like Altadena.
The Eaton fire remains estimated to be 10,600 acres, and we have 0% containment.
I have 5 friends who have lost their homes, 2 who've lost their entire block.
Closer to the coast, the Palisades fire burned more than 17,000 acres. The air was so toxic, schools throughout the region were closed. Life here is unrecognizable.
We can smell all of the chemicals and things that were inside these properties that were burning. It's just complete devastation, but home after home after home destroyed.
Early in the afternoon, television viewers witnessed a new disaster in the making. Flames from the Eaton fire were lapping at the edges of the iconic Mount Wilson Observatory. It's also a vital communications link, housing broadcast towers for the entire Los Angeles area. A KNBC engineer was inside that building, offering a lesson in competence and cool-headedness.
We've been preparing for this for a couple days now. We're in a good place up here. We've got a lot of assets that rolled in early this morning in preparation for what's happening now.
Hours later, the fire had retreated. Late Thursday, authorities imposed a curfew on the two largest evacuation zones to prevent looting and called in the California National Guard to assist. But fire, of course, remained the biggest threat, and sure enough, another one broke out, the Kenneth Fire in Bell Canyon. Evacuation orders went out.
We keep seeing these fires pop up in different places. If you're told to evacuate, then get the hell out.
By this morning, the death toll had climbed to 10 people. And tonight, the cause of all these fires remains under investigation. As Los Angeles neighborhoods continue to burn, people are bracing for whatever may come next.
I don't know how we recover, but I do know that we will rebuild, and we're going to rebuild together.
When we come back, residents of the hard-hit Palisades return home to a surreal scene. The Palisades. Two of our correspondents, Jacob Soberoff and Katie Tur, grew up there. Like so many others, they returned to find a heartbreaking scene.
Pacific Palisades, a Los Angeles neighborhood 20 miles west of downtown, is the epicenter of this week's disaster. More than 5,000 homes and structures destroyed, about 20,000 acres razed by the flames, and nearly 40,000 people ordered to flee for their lives.
I grew up in Pacific Palisades, and I've never seen anything like this. The whole town was gone as we knew it. This is the Palisades Public Library. It's still on fire. I brought my kids here, I don't know, in the last 4 or 5 months with their library cards. They check books out of here. Look at the fire still burning in the roof.
Then I drove along the world-famous Sunset Boulevard.
To me, Sunset Boulevard is the heart of my community. There's not a single house left standing here. What do you do? What do they do? There's just never, ever, ever been anything like this.
One of my best friends grew up here in the Palisades, too. MSNBC anchor Katie Tur. Here she is as a kid in the neighborhood. A heavy hitter, getting a jump on her career. We drove through streets filled with so many of our childhood memories and dreams. Growing up, we had fires, too.
Did you ever evacuate?
No, we never evacuated.
And that's what's crazy. It's like everybody thought in the event of a natural disaster, this area is untouchable.
They just thought fire would be contained before it ever got down here. Thankfully, it mostly was until now. And this is the most densely packed area in the Palisades.
Not a single house is left here.
If I was going home, I'd make a left on this street.
Why don't we go there? Was that your front door?
Yeah, and this was the living room. We put a Christmas tree in this corner right here. And behind that was a bathroom that my dad set up a dark room for me in because I love photography.
Our nostalgia was short-lived. There's too much real misery here. Too many lives upended.
We just moved in 2 days before the fire. Do you know what you're going to do now? What were you able to get when you left?
Nothing.
Because you thought there's no way, right?
I was working really hard. I'm a couples therapist, and I was like working. I didn't know, and I came out and I saw a fireball, and I had to get out immediately. Oh my God! I grabbed. This is everything. I grabbed one painting.
Today I met Tanner Schaff. Tanner is from Minnesota, but happened to be visiting a friend when the flames engulfed the neighborhood. And then, the house.
How are you doing? I mean, I think it's not an exaggeration to say you barely made it out alive.
I'm doing well. It was a bit overwhelming.
They fought the fire, but it was hopeless.
I'm a professional storm chaser. I have friends that firefight and give me a lot of knowledge, and I've been around some fires before, but nothing like this. Pretty much every house here got taken out.
I remember hearing you talk about the trees on fire. You could see the trees on fire. The thoughts that were going through your head at that moment when you realized
We got to save our lives.
Yeah.
What was it like?
Just a sense of defeat.
They found themselves in an inferno.
Everything's on fire around us. You know, we're getting in this car. We're going down the street. It's thick. You can hardly see. And there was just kind of this just sombering feel in the car. You can't describe it.
Just nearby, Cafe Vita used to be at the heart of the community. Now it's a pile of charred rubble.
Oh my God. Look at this. This is just hard to believe, hijo.
Albie Fuentes has worked in Pacific Palisades for 34 years. I've known him almost as long.
What was it about this place that made it so special and made it so popular?
The enormous effort to make it like a second home, for everybody.
What does it feel like to be here?
I have to cry so much, hijo. I have cried so much on these last days. It's so hard. It's so hard. It's so hard.
What are you gonna do, Albie?
Right now, as for many people suffering this tragedy, our immediate future is uncertain. I don't know.
When you cover these things, you always hear people talk about, I can't imagine it happening, to me, and this hasn't happened to me. But I look around the town, the neighborhood, the place that I grew up in. I talk to my friends. Who I spent so much time with on these streets, and it's hard to imagine what comes next and what happens next.
As the fire continues to eat away communities, you hardly dare think about the future. CAL FIRE Deputy Director Nick Schuler.
In my 26 years, this could be one of the top, most devastating fires I've seen.
What happens in a situation like this where the high school's destroyed, you got churches destroyed, you got the 2 supermarkets in the community destroyed? How do you come back from something like this?
They come back one day at a time.
I know it's hard for everybody, but let's keep our praise and let's keep our hopes and let's be together.
Are dealing with traumatizing loss while holding tight to what they do have left, one another. The National Guard has now joined the fight against the Eaton fire. One devastated area is the close-knit Altadena community. The sheer breadth of the devastation is mind-boggling, but really it's a series of painful, intimate losses suffered by family after family. Here's Scotty Schwartz.
The fire swept in like a hurricane Tuesday night, flames ripping through Altadena at a relentless pace.
You can see so many homes over here have been destroyed, and the fire continues to burn all around us. We're hearing the sound of explosions. Watch out, there's a down power line over here, so I think this is as far as we're going to go.